Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast, episode 100. Today we have Roger Jonsson with us. One of the, I would say, perhaps not the most known in the media, but those who are in the hockey cultures know a lot about Roger. And in my opinion, one of the best GMs out there in terms of what really matters. So welcome to the Hockey Podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered.
Yeah, well, I've been following you for a while from a side, and I've watched kind of how, and I want to talk about that, really the subject of, because you're in Olofström, which is not the biggest metropolitan area, not a hockey mecca. And what does it take to build a hockey program from ground up in a small town is kind of the subject that I want to talk about. But for those who don't know, we've had some other people. We've had Jonsson who came through your program on last year. And that's kind of where I started looking at Olofström and who are these people and what makes them successful. And then I've been following kind of from a side, watching it a little bit. But let's go back a little bit. So first of all, where is Olofström in Sweden, for those who don't know?
Olofström is a small town village, about 1.5 hours from Malmö in the south. It's a small town. Volvo has a big factory here, so that's what we come from. We are from the industrial families, work hard, and I would say that there is some hockey culture here. They started the club in 1970, and they had some success. There a lot of people are interested, and we have some players that come from Olofström that made it and went all the way. So even though the last couple of years the men's team has been struggling a little bit, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were in Allsvenskan and knocking on the door to Allsvenskan a couple of times. So there's still some hockey culture, I think.
Absolutely.
Even though it's a small city, the problem we have now is that we don't have enough players who start playing hockey. When they're young, we have floorball, innebandy, as we call it in Sweden, that is big. We have soccer and stuff like that. And generally, the hockey population is centered to the bigger city. There are some smaller city like Leksand you come from, and Tingsryd and small towns like that that's still going on and are still strong, but we have problems recruiting young kids.
Yeah.
So our hockey gymnasium or our hockey academy is standing out from the rest of the club, because we have we have a good junior 18 team and a junior 20 team, and we have a good cooperation with the school and the city that makes us kind of develop and set the program as we would like. We have, I wouldn't say free hands, but we are not tied. If you're a new gymnasium, you have certain rules that you have to apply to. We can set our agenda a little bit from how we would like to have it, and we practice only during the days. We have no evening practices, so all our practices and sessions are scheduled during the day. So we have good facilities, everybody living in the same building, for instance.
For those who follow Jonsson in his off-ice training, he always has this, I don't know where he's training, but it's in a very nice facility. So I think that's not necessarily there at the school, right? That's at a local gym.
He's at the gym.
Yeah, it looks really nice. But at the same time, the ice facilities are really nice there too. But let's go back a little bit, because you're from there from beginning in Blekinge. So it's on the east coast, going up the coast from Malmö, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've actually never been to Olofström. I don't think. I'm from Leksand, and it's pretty far from Leksand, but you know, like all of these small towns in Sweden, they all have their kind of common strokes. But you grew up around there, right?
Yeah, I'm from Olofström. I was born here. I played hockey here until I was 17, 18 years old. I played men's hockey when I was 15. I was up early. We had some kids in my age that were really good. We had a guy named Reine Rauhala, born 73, same age as me, my classmate. He went to Leksand.
Södertälje. What did he play in
No,
Södertälje?
Leksand. He went to
Leksand.
Leksand
Okay.
and played World Juniors with Forsberg and Näslund and those guys. And so at that time, you didn't really have the social media. You didn't know so much about the rest of Sweden, how good everybody was or what the standard was. So, but Reine was probably the best 15-year-old in Sweden at the time. So that was the standard when we practices. So he helped a lot of guys here because he was that good. So I moved to Malmö when I was 18. Became a 1-year case, they call it in English. Ettårsfall in Sweden. I couldn't play for a year because at that time you had to have you have to agree. There was money involved between the clubs. You have to buy the players before Bosman came. So they couldn't agree. So they banned me for a year, which was sad at the time when you were 18 years old and made a big step. So then I played like 17 years professional, Allsvenskan, NHL, and I finished with 3 years in France, in Grenoble. Great time. And then I started, when I finished play, I got an offer from my hometown to become the GM. So that's where my other career started, as a coach and GM.
Yeah.
What,
And then a stint too with being the GM in Oskarshamn as well.
Yeah, I was 3 years in Olofström as a GM, and then I went to Oskarshamn and was there for 7 years, and went back home after that and have the hockey academy here in Olofström the last 6 years. So
yeah. What is it about, and of course, so the bigger towns that are around you, perhaps, that are kind of, and this is a common theme too in Sweden, where you have these smaller towns, smaller clubs, and then you have sometimes another smaller town, or maybe a bigger town, but they have a bigger club, so to speak. So you do have Oskarshamn, which is close. Of course, they just got relegated, but they've been up in the SHL. But then you have Karlskrona, which has been kind of the, would Karlskrona be the closest in the past big team? Or I guess Malmö.
Tingsryd, I would say, is the most, because it's only half an hour from Olofström, that they were good in the like 70s and the 80s, and they've been good ever since. Like it's kind of like Leksand. It's a very small city, and they always produce good hockey players. They play in the Allsvenskan, which is a good level and a good league. So that I would say would be the closest. You had Mörrum, 20 minutes from here, that like historically seen, they've been a good team. Like they played Allsvenskan for 18, 20 years in a row. I think before they went down, they played Division 1 now. So
yeah,
so there's a lot of small clubs. You got Kristianstad close as well. So there's a lot of clubs around. And the area in the south here is, we have a lot of Allsvenskan clubs and we have SHL clubs. So it's a good place to go up as a junior. And there's a lot of places to go if you get noticed if you play well.
Yeah. So explain kind of the difference. So you have an elite team, you have a J20, you have a J18, you got the youth organization like most clubs. But like in Tingsryd and Malmö, that are NIU, you are a LIU. Explain the difference for those who don't know between an NIU and an LIU, and then give your opinion on the advantages and the disadvantages of being an LIU.
First of all, it's when you go to school and you combine hockey with school, you get 400 points for studying NIU. You get 300 if you study LIU. So that's the difference when it comes to school. The other one is that it's kind of a certification that says that you are about to have a certain standard when you are a NIU. And you are when you apply as a 15-year-old to go to a hockey gymnasium, you can choose 4 options, and all the NIU gymnasium are there, so you can choose 4 of them, and they're all on the same site, and they're all on the same how you say, under the same umbrella.
Yep.
The LIU is by themselves. They don't have any rules from the federations or stuff like that. Like they can build the organization and they can practice a little bit how they want. So there are some really good LIU gymnasium that have good facilities and good coaches and stuff like that. But NIU is like it's everybody wants to go. When you're a kid, everybody wants to go there, and not everybody is there. So if you're not a prioritized player, if you're not the top in your age group at the time when you're 15 years old, and like I always tell, that's the first thing I tell everybody that comes here, because we invite all the players that we would like to see. We meet them, they can come here and practice, and we try to tell them that 80% of the players who reach SHL or top Allsvenskan do it when they're 24 years old. So the question is, what do you do until you're 24 years old? Like everybody can't be Rasmus Dahlin or Lucas Raymond that goes straight from the top junior level and straight into SHL and straight into NHL. Most people have to try different paths or ways. So that's what we try to tell them. You need to be in a good environment. You need to practice well. If you go to the top clubs like Malmö, Rögle, Växjö, HV, you have to be a prioritized player. Like if you're a skilled player, you need to play power play. If you're a skilled player, you need to play in the top lines. And if you're not, you don't get the same amount of love from the coaches and the staff. Yep. And it's a hard way to go through. So for this year example, I have 6 players in my team that signed for Växjö and Rögle top teams, which means that they only played junior 18 division 1, but still at their last year they can play junior 20 national. So it shows that the level of the league is not the biggest thing. You need to be in a good environment. You need to practice good. You need to play. You need to learn how to play, and especially learn how to play with the puck. Because when you come up to play men's hockey or top level junior, you need to play. So be able to play.
So let me throw a word at you that I think is an important. I had this conversation a lot with Urban Omark before about, for the young. I'm sorry.
He's a former teammate of mine.
Urban. Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation about, not every player is a Rasmus Dahlin, and the right fit for a Rasmus Dahlin is to be at that level, but not everybody develops physically and skill wise at different levels. But when I say the right fit, so I think it's good that there are different options for, and it's not a cookie cutter. So explore that kind of philosophy of finding the right fit. So what is the right fit for a player that comes to Olofström?
First of all, hockey is fast today. It goes really fast out there. If you play top level, Sweden, Canada, Finland, or the top leagues, it goes really fast. Even the juniors play at a high speed level today. So you need to have the tools. You need to have the tools to be able to play in that speed that there's today. So basically what we focus on is to develop all your tools. Then we have to learn them how to play. it's difficult to learn somebody how to play in a top level if you don't have the tools. It's easier to learn somebody who has the tools to play hockey, because
Yep.
that is big discussion today. Because I also have, during the summer, I run my like hockey schools and academies, and we do skills sessions, and we have everything from NHL players down to kids that work on their own game, like their tools. And it's not this or that, like you can't choose, but if you can choose, it's better to have the tools and then also learn how to play. The big discussion is today that everybody is a selfish player, they're egoists, they only care about themselves because they have been on skills coaches and skill sessions. And so it's a big debate today, and I think that we try to combine. We do a lot of skills session here in Olofström. We focus on developing each player, because if I'm going to have a good junior 20 team, they need to develop, because I can't kick out players after 1 year and say, no, you're not good enough. We take somebody else because they don't line up to me in the same way they do for Växjö or Malmö. Yep. So we need to develop every player we got or get. And then you also need to learn how to play. So we have a playbook. We play with puck possession. So we really need the guys to be able to play in a high speed and to play with the puck.
Yeah.
So when we send players to Växjö, Rögle, or Malmö to practice now, they have no problems to play a game in the junior, like national junior 20 on the top level, because they know how to play. And I think the problem that we have today in Swedish hockey is that we push everybody at a young age to play at a level that they're not really fit for.
Yes.
And we have the junior 18 region, which we were played this year. We were newcomers and stuff like that, but it's tough league, really tough.
Yep.
But it's getting younger and younger because they're pushing U16 players up. Agents, coaches, parents, national teams, coaches push everybody up. The junior 20 is younger than ever. There are like 10, 15 players, some games, that are born to play junior 18 that plays junior 20.
Yep.
So the junior 20 level is not good enough, if you ask me.
Yep.
Because we don't have enough of the last this year is the 04s that are the last year that they can play junior 20. So they kick them a little bit too early. They move the younger players up. And if you ask the coaches, they probably will say that the national team's coaches are calling and they ask about players, and they say, do you have anybody that's good? Yeah, we have one player. And they say, yeah, but he doesn't play junior 20.
Yeah.
No, but good player. And it seems like they have, and that makes all the coaches to push up the good players, because otherwise they're not going to play the national team. And it's a spiral that's spinning too fast, and we don't take care of the overage players.
Yeah. So, but if you're a, let's say, not a top player, let's say you're a late bloomer, and then you are put in a position that is, and you know, everybody wants to play at the top level, but you're just not a top level. You are what you are. What happens then to the development when you're on a team that is above your level versus being at the right level, whatever that right level may be, whether that's Division 2, Division 1, or region or national?
Yeah, I think you stop developing because you're, and that makes, if you look at the past couple of years when we could get better and better players in our organization, so when they go out to be senior players, they played the last year, they are competing for the same spots that a lot of the players that play a top level, even though we are on the second level.
Yep.
And I think they get good jobs in Division 1 for starts when they start playing, before some of the players that went to the NIU, because they played power play, they played PK, they played a top line, they played the last 2 minutes of a game when we're leading, they played the last 2 minutes when we had to score a goal.
Yep.
And I think the environment is a little bit calmer. Like and a lot of the times, like the SHL teams, they bring in young coaches for junior 18 and U16 and junior 20. They're young and they're ambitious. They want to get be coaches in the SHL in the future. But their experience is not that big. And for me, I'm a better coach and better GM now than I was when I was in Oskarshamn, because I know more. I met more people. I went to more skills camp with my kids and see another good developer do stuff that I think that, oh God, you can do like that, and I bring it with me and try to develop it and be better at my job. I have kids of my own, which is an advantage when you're have young kids and young players that move. Sometimes they move like 4 or 5 hours away from home to live here without their parents. Things happen in life, and everything from you're gonna make school, you gotta play well. Sometimes bad things happen. Somebody in the family gets sick, your girlfriend breaks up, school is not working as you think, you get pressure. And I think in an environment like Olofström, it's a little bit more easier to collect and to help players that are facing problems. But in an elite environment, there's always somebody is knocking at the door that, okay, we push him away, he's not ready, we take him out, and then new guys come. So
and I've seen that too. Like, so in the NIUs, and there's a lot of money that is at stake at the NIUs too. And so if you are not, it doesn't take very long. You don't have that leash is not very long for you. And if you are not performing, you're going to be, someone else is going to take your spot. And what does that then do to your confidence? And I've seen it then where coaches are just not, they're going to give the love and the attention to the one that is coming up. And I get it. I think that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that that's, on the other hand, I don't know if that's a bad thing to a certain degree as well. It's just a caution for those who are, teetering on the edge there. And do you, and you're making this choice of, do I accept this position to be on that top team and be in a fourth liner and maybe a healthy scratch, or do I rather be a main guy? So let's say you're J18 and you could get in here, but I'm going to get a really big role over here. The other part that I wanted to get your opinion on, which I think is a huge advantage in the Swedish system versus over here in the US or Canada, is the ability in one of these smaller clubs to play at multiple levels. So kid coming in from the outside to Olofström, you're gonna, but they are really, really good. And now you're coming in as a first year J18. If they are good, there's no restrictions for them to play on the J20. There's no restrictions for them to practice with J20 and maybe even to practice with the men's elite team, right? How does that, but that's a lot of, for you as the general manager coach, how do you weigh that opportunity, that burden? And you're also then sitting someone else. There's only so many spots.
Yeah, true. And the fact that you're bringing it up is exactly how we work, because we are, first of all, we've been complaining and trying to get the Swedish Federation to understand that in even if you don't play top level, you need to have more games, more good games, and more games. If you play junior 20 national, you play about, I would say, around 55, 60 games a year. If you play region where we play, you play 30. Plus playoff, that's half. And if you play junior 20 division 1, you play 20. 25 or something. And how can you, even if when they're 15 years old, they are competing for the same spot at HV or Växjö, and there's so little difference between them at the moment, maybe physical development, maybe mentality, or something that should make them choose the other guy. So one of the guys come to me, and if I'm going to make him practice as hard, as much as the guy who goes to HV, and he needs to play as much games as the guy who plays in HV in order to become as good as him when they are 20, or as we say 24. We look at 24 years old. That's what the aim is. So that's why we have spots. We save spots in the junior 20 teams for the junior 18. We save spots in the men's team for the junior 20 guys. So we try to get everybody up to 50 games at least, or a lot of the players. Not everybody can, but the best players are playing like 60 games. And if you're a junior 18 guy and you play junior 20, you play junior 18 as well. You don't jump over because we need the both of the games. So some of the guys, they play 4 games a week, which is good. We also have junior 18 guys who have that once a week we have a spot for them to practice with the men's team, just because it's good. They're big, they're stronger. Some of the players that play Division 2, it sounds like terrible Division 2, but some of the players play the SHL. They don't compete anymore, but they still like to play, and they still have a good level. So for our young kids to be around and to practice with the men's team is good, and it's developing. So that's true. Our best players play both junior 18, junior 20, and they play men's team.
Yeah. Well, and I know you're a humble guy, but I want to talk about kind of the successes that I've watched just in the last few years. So when I first started watching Olofström, J18 was in Division 1.
Yeah.
Now they moved up, and they're in the top. They're in region, right?
Yeah, but we moved out again.
Oh, you moved out again. Okay.
Yeah, we moved out again, so we're back and forwards now.
Yep.
But still.
And then J20, and I mean, I guess that was also kind of that core group of the 05 group that went up, took it from Division 1 into region. Those guys moved up into J20 and was in the, fighting for a spot. I mean, how far did you guys get in the J20 playoffs? I mean, it was
to the final round, the final playoff 3. We lost against Tyresö. The final, the best out of 3. We lost the 3rd game there.
Yeah,
it was tight.
I mean,
yeah, great.
And I mean, to take it from, because so J20, were they in Division 1 not too long ago as well?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
So you almost went from 2 years ago in Division 1, almost leapfrogging your way into J20 National, which would have been, I mean, if that would have happened, that would have turned some heads. You probably turned some heads anyway, but so that core, so what you're talking about is that core group of players you're now graduating into Växjö and HV71 and
and if the best players we had this year is born 05, so they have 1 more year to play. So if we would have kept those guys, everybody decided we stay in Olofström, then we would have an even better shot at moving up this year. But still it's you have to find your find your way in the food chain as well. Like we are happy. Like I talked to Växjö, I talked to Rögle to like try this guy, invite him for a practice. It makes us look good, even if it's hard to let good players go that could stay. But it's our job to develop good players. When they come, we promise them that we will do everything we can to. Olofström is not an end station. It's a board to get to some place better.
Well, I mean, so does that come with? I mean, I know there's different emotions as a general manager to say that, right? But isn't it also kind of that's just reality?
It is, and it's the way the Swedish system is built as well. That it's possible to move up. It's possible for smaller clubs to play in SHL. It's possible for Oskarshamn to play SHL, even though it's a small town and nobody thought it would be possible. So, and even for juniors, you have the chance to move up, you have the chance to move down, and I think that making like 6 players now leave to top level makes the younger players that come in, and the best part of this is that they played junior 18 Division 1 when they came. So it makes like you can play Division 1 and still make the top level when you're 19.
And how many of those guys were in TV Puck in the TV Puck tournament? Or maybe I should say, how many of them were not?
I would say that I got to think. Now it makes me look bad because I have to say that everybody was in the TV Puck. I would like to me for answering something else there, but it's Blekinge. Like 5 of them is for Blekinge, and we have around 50 players for each year, so it's not that difficult to make.
Okay, and my point that I'm trying to make too is that just because you doesn't, I mean, I don't know how many people I've talked to that you know, they were the last cut, didn't make TV Puck, and now they're playing at Hockeyettan or Allsvenskan or playing college in the US, or and loving, it doesn't end because you didn't make the TV Puck tournament. It doesn't end because you didn't get into NIU. But my point to all of this is like, what better recruiting campaign to be able to say, are you a player that really wants to develop and that becomes better, good enough that you're going to be able to then be in a position to play at the J20 National and then wherever else. You should come here. Come to us.
Yeah. And that's what we try. We try to push for that, and we know that we because we have, let's say, around 150 applications every year for every age group, and we bring in 12. So we still have a certain amount to choose from, but not all of the 150 choose us in the end because they have other clubs that wants them as well. But we really try to select players from where we can see that this guy is gonna he could be a hockey player, because you can see that he has some moves or skill set or mindset, and you can see that he can play, but he maybe we got one guy now who's born 04 that had an amazing, like, he's 195 now, but he was like the smallest guy ever when he came in, and like 150 centimeters and like 50 kilos, really small. You look at the pictures from him when he started, you're like, it's not the same guy. And you can see that his dad was like big. You can see that he's going to be big, but he didn't have a chance to get into one of the bigger gymnasiums when he was 15 because his physics was just not there. And it's so nice to see, because he had the skill set. Oh, he was like wonderful when you saw him on the skills sessions. So you can see that he's going to be a hockey player if he ends up in a good environment and keeps playing. So, and he plays well.
Yeah. And I think that let's round out with this too. What about the mindset? Okay, you got to have the skills, and you have to be able to be if you got 100 players that you're choosing for 12 spots, what is the I kind of have UL Shinanda in the back of my mind, but like, what are the mindset that you're looking for what's the right fit in Olofström?
I would say UL Shinanda is like the perfect fit, because he's so committed, and that's one of the problems when you're not choosing from the top shelf of players at each age group. Some of the guys that are skilled and good, but they come from smaller clubs, and they don't really know what is it to be elite. What does it take to be as good as the guys in HV? Everything from from excuses why I shouldn't practice to the shock when you come that, oh, do we have to practice this much? Because I never did. I played soccer in the summer and I did that and that and that. So I think that's the most difficult part, is to get everybody to have the mindset that Joel Chinander had when he came, that I'm going to do everything, whatever it takes to be as good as I can be. And I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to work even harder. And that's the most difficult task that we have, I think, to get everybody in that mindset, because they don't have it when they come.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I remember people that are growing up, and I was like, this guy's got the eye of the tiger attitude. And I think some of that comes, whether it's genetically or it certainly is a trait that some have more natural than others.
Yeah.
But I do think that the whole iron sharpens iron, and being in an environment where you can, when you are competing in practice, Ulmark and I had this conversation about, like, when Forsberg and Naslund was coming up together in Modo, you know, that's why there was no surprise that those guys became the best in the world, because they practiced harder than anybody, not because Forsberg's dad was such a good coach. They were competing in everything they did every day, and games were like a cakewalk for them. And
Yeah.
they had more competition, and there were probably, you know, fist fights and people crying because they hate to lose, you know, against each other.
I totally agree, and I could see a huge difference between a certain age group in because I have 4 age group who I control or have practicing, and I can see the difference between the ones that succeed and the ones that move forward and gets better and better jobs. Those groups are competing like really, really good at the practices. They're pushing each other, they're yelling at each other sometimes, and that's also a thing you have to learn to know how to take and talk to other players. But the environment that they have is that they go all in, and then you have some of the other age group that they are talented, but they don't have that mindset, and they don't have the group that pushes one another to the limits, where you say that I'm never going to lose this, even if it's practice.
But isn't it also, that's kind of where your experience and the continuity that you've been able to create, that you can now recognize those things and make adjustments and facilitate that environment proactively or reactively, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that, and I can see when we don't play as well as we should. Often, and most of the times, it's because we don't compete enough.
Yeah.
So, and that's like, I have a son that plays in Canada. Played this year in Canada.
Lethbridge, right?
Yeah, in Lethbridge, and I've been over there like 3 or 4 times, and I watched them practice, and not one time have I seen them battling. They don't battle at practice, but when they play, they battle like hell.
Huh.
So I guess it's like mindsets from when they're young in Canada, that everybody knows that if you're going to play, you have to battle, but they don't need it in practice. In Sweden, we brought up with that everybody's the same. Everybody plays the same amount. Everybody has the same shifts. Everybody is the same. They don't have to compete, but all of a sudden, when you're 16 years old, you have to compete, and then you have to do it in practice, and then the coaches have to make drills that they have to compete.
Yep.
And in Canada, that's what's the first thing that struck me, that they don't have to do it because they're already there.
Yeah. There's a reason why they produce the top J20 team year after year after year.
Yeah, and the level is crazy. So I can understand. I watched so many games there right now, and I can see how they can go from juniors right into play NHL, because the level is so high.
Yeah. Well,
that's one thing I think that we should look The Swedish coaches and clubs should look at the WHL or OHL, how they work with, because they make the players stay. They play junior hockey. They don't play men's hockey. They don't push 18-year-old guy up to SHL too early, because we don't have any player in junior and national that scores 100 points, because the best players are playing 8 to 10 minutes in SHL instead of playing 30 minutes in a top level juniors, because everybody, that's why we talked about it in the beginning, we're pushing everybody up too early.
Well, it's funny because I've had that conversation with the Swedish Hockey Federation, and it's one of the, at least this past year, that was one of the initiatives. One of the strategic initiative was the compete. We don't want to just make it to the quarterfinal and lose with the national team. We want to compete. Have I seen any change in that? Not to sound too critical, but I'm just a fruit inspector, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it change.
I agree, and the one that we lacking, if the players that we send to National Hockey League and top leagues are not the most skilled players. The most skilled players are coming from US or Canada at the moment, and I think it's because we send them up too early. They play a system hockey in Sweden, men's hockey, where it's points are more important than development. And I think we need to look in the mirror a little bit and see if we can change some things. Then we need to change the way that we handle players from 17, 18 years old until they're 2021.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, we could talk for hours on this. It's been great. I've been chasing you for a while, and finally I got you on at episode 100 here, and huge admirer. We're going to continue to kind of keep you under the radar here and focus on this little town, Olofström. The Steelers is the nickname.
Steelers.
And thanks for coming on. Last thing we do, I always ask this, two more things. I almost forgot. We always ask this to the, and this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge perhaps for you, since sometimes we have the younger guy on here. I just had Felicia Frank, who I know her brother played for you, Lucas. But I always ask the guest, you met yourself at 17. And what advice would you give to yourself, things you know now that you didn't know back then?
I know exactly what that would be like. Work harder.
Okay.
Oh my God. I was so lazy. I don't know anybody who know me when I was 17, 18 years old. You had tons of talents, but didn't know. That's one of the problems. You come from a small town, you don't know. You don't know how it's be. You don't know how you don't know how Peter Forsberg and Marcus Nelson was practicing when I was 17, 18. If I would have known, maybe I would have done differently. But somebody kicked.
Well, you know now, right? You know now.
Yeah, I know all the shortcuts.
All right, last thing, we have a partnership with TargetAid.com. TargetAid has been getting a lot of notoriety in Sweden for being a fundraising platform. We have a presence there. We're grateful for that. And it gives us the opportunity to kind of share their initiative, which is that we share here, and that is the team in my heart. I've got a feeling it's a pretty easy one for you, but klubben i mitt hjärta, which one is it for Roger Jonsson?
Of course, it's Olofström. Started here and went away for 18, 20 years and came back twice as a GM and now as a coach. So that's would be the klubben i mitt hjärta for me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and we'll make sure that we'll get some content out for TargetAid, and hopefully we can help with our little spot in the hockey world as well. Thanks for coming on. We'll stay in touch for sure, and I'm sure you got more hockey tonight, or is it done for today?
It's done for today. I have my kids at home, and my son from Lethbridge came home a week ago as well. So we spent some time with the family. It's gonna be nice.
Sounds good. Well, wish him well, and we'll stay in touch for sure. Thanks.